The old joke was simple: Chinese bikes were cheap, rough, and nowhere near a BMW or KTM once the road got long. That joke doesn't land like it used to, because bikes like the CFMOTO 800MTX, Cove 800X, and Voge DS900X are showing up with big tanks, cruise control, solid comfort, and price tags that leave room for the trip itself. So this list isn't about logos. It's about the stuff touring riders actually pay for: range, support, comfort, and whether you'd trust the bike when you're 400 miles from home. Kicking off the list, the Zanti's 703F. This bike starts low because it's still newer in the touring world than some others here, but it deserves a real look if you want a lighter-feeling adventure tour without paying premium money. And the 699 cubic centimeter triple already gives it a different vibe from the usual budget twin. That triple matters more than it sounds. On a highway run, triples usually feel smoother than a single and more eager than a calm twin. So when you're loaded with bags and sitting at cruise speed for hours, the engine doesn't feel like it's begging for mercy every time you pass a truck. Zanti's also packs a lot into the price. Depending on market, you get electronics, lighting, a modern dash, and a tank around 22 liters, which puts real touring range on the table instead of short hop range dressed up in ADV bodywork. The hesitation is trust. Zanti's has moved fast, and the bikes look far more sorted than they did a few years ago. But dealer depth and long-term parts confidence still trail CFMOTO in a lot of regions. And that's the sort of thing riders ignore right up until something breaks far from home. Next up, the Motor SRT 700X. This is one of those bikes that keeps making sense once you stop chasing prestige and start asking what actually helps on a long trip. Because QJ usually loads these bikes with touring parts that other brands turn into option packs. You're getting a middleweight parallel twin with relaxed tuning, useful passing power, and a setup aimed more at all-day travel than bragging rights, plus crash bars, luggage hardware, handguards, and often more depending on where it's sold, which saves a lot of money after purchase. For real-world touring, that's the hook. The tank sits around 19.5 liters, rider and passenger space look honest, and the bike feels built for the kind of riding most people really do. Long pavement stretches, rough secondary roads, some gravel, then more pavement before dark. The weak spot is weight. QJ bikes can get porky, and heavy touring bikes only feel friendly when everything is smooth, flat, and predictable. Once the fuel tank is full and the hotel parking lot slopes the wrong way, that extra mass stops feeling planted and starts feeling annoying. Number 8 is the Voji DS900X. This is where the list starts getting uncomfortable for established brands, because Voge isn't aiming at entry-level buyers here. It's aiming at riders who were already looking at BMW and KTM, then looked at the numbers twice. Voge has Lancine behind it, and that matters, because manufacturing scale, supplier access, and engine experience all help calm the old fear that a Chinese touring bike will feel fine on paper but half-finished on the road after 6 months of use. The DS900X lands in the serious middleweight ADV zone with an 895 cubic centimeter twin, proper touring shape, decent wind cover, luggage options, and an equipment list that would have sounded unlikely from this part of the market not long ago, especially at its expected price point. No, it doesn't erase BMW's support network. If you ride across countries and your whole plan depends on a huge dealer map, BMW still wins that part. But on ownership math, what you buy, what comes included, and how usable it looks for distance, this bike changes the tone. At number 7, the CFMOTO 650MT. This one isn't new in the exciting sense, and that's exactly why it earns a place here, because touring riders don't always need the freshest platform. Sometimes they need a bike that's already had time to prove what breaks, what doesn't, and what ownership really feels like after the launch buzz fades. The 649 cubic centimeter twin isn't trying to set records. It just settles into long road miles without turning every highway pass into drama. And that calm nature works well for riders who care more about comfort, fuel stops, and cost than they do about winning parking lot debates. Price is the big draw here. In many markets, the 650MT comes in way below what you'd spend to get into a BMW or KTM touring setup. Once those brands start adding luggage, heated gear support, and the features riders actually use on a cold day. And CFMOTO's network matters. It still doesn't match BMW worldwide, but it's much better than a lot of riders think, especially across Europe and parts of Asia. So this bike works as the sensible one in the list, the bike that won't impress everyone, but keeps making sense. Moving on, number 6, the Cove 800X Pro. Now we're getting into bikes that directly poke KTM and BMW shoppers, because Cove isn't building a cheap copy. It's chasing low weight, off-pavement ability, and enough highway pace to make a serious travel bike. The 799 cubic centimeter twin gives it proper road speed, but the bigger reason it lands here is balance. This bike doesn't feel stuffed with features just for the spec sheet. It looks built for riders who care about suspension travel, standing comfort, and what the bike feels like once the smooth road ends. For touring, lower weight pays back every single day. You feel it on gravel, on broken roads, while turning around on a shoulder, and while lifting the bike off the side stand with luggage on board, because tired riders notice pounds more than they notice marketing. Kove still asks for trust. Dealer reach is thinner, long-term reliability data is still growing, and parts support depends a lot on market. But if your touring includes dirt and not just scenic asphalt, this one starts looking smarter than a heavier badge name bike. Number 5 is the Voge 625 DSX. This one doesn't have the same big bike drama as the 900 class machines, but that can actually help for real travel because middleweight bikes often hit the sweet spot between power, fuel use, cost, and day-long manageability. The engine gives enough pull for loaded highway work, but it doesn't drag you into the higher running costs and extra complexity that sometimes come with bigger, hotter machines. That matters when you're budgeting for fuel, tires, service, luggage, and the trip itself, not just the bike. What pushes this Voge up the list is how complete the package looks. The wind protection is useful, the ergonomics look right for distance, the tank range works, and the equipment level usually feels more honest than what older brand-name rivals give you before the options list begins. That's the pattern now. The old guard still wins on trust, support depth, and resale in a lot of places, but these newer Chinese bikes keep winning on what shows up with the key, and touring riders notice that faster than image-driven buyers do. At number 4, the Motor SRT 900SX. This is where the value story starts turning into a straight category argument. Because this bike doesn't just look affordable, it looks like a real touring machine that happened to come from China instead of Europe. Long highway days expose weak seats, poor screens, and engines that feel busy at cruising speed. And the SRT 900SX seems built with that in mind. You get a bigger twin than the 700, more passing power, and a chassis shaped more around loaded travel than weekend posing. If you ride 2 up, pay attention here. Passenger room matters, rear subframe strength matters, and the bike's extra engine helps once you've got a second person, hard luggage, and a few days of gear, because some middleweights feel fine solo and strained once you actually use them. Yes, weight comes back as the warning. Heavy bikes feel calm on fast roads, but they feel like work on uneven ground and at walking speed. Still, if comfort comes first and value matters, this one starts stepping right into established brand territory. Number 3 is the CFMOTO 800 MT Explorer, and this is where the list stops sounding like a budget roundup and starts sounding like a warning shot. Because CFMOTO already moved past the point where people can dismiss the brand with one lazy comment. The 799 cubic centimeter twin gives it real pace, but the headline feature in many markets is radar-backed adaptive cruise control, and that's the sort of thing you'd expect to see on a much more expensive machine with a famous badge and a much nastier options bill. That matters on a long ride. Cruise control cuts fatigue, good weather protection cuts noise, heated extras stop feeling like toys once the temperature drops. And a strong screen plus navigation support make more difference on our 6 than another small bump in horsepower ever will. CFMOTO also carries one of the better dealer footprints in this group, which doesn't put it level with BMW everywhere, but it does make the bike much easier to trust than people who haven't paid attention in 2 or 3 years might assume. At number 2, the Cove 800X line. This bike sits here because it proves something bigger than one good model. It proves a Chinese brand can't build around real travel use, instead of just cramming features into a sales sheet. The whole package chases lower weight, usable range, travel-ready chassis balance, and a riding position that still works after you've been standing, sitting, and standing again all day, which is exactly what happens when a route looks clean on a map and turns ugly in real life. The engine gives enough strength for motorway work, But the bigger deal is how the bike should feel when you're tired. Less bulk means less wrestling at fuel stops, less stress on rough ground, and less punishment when the road turns into gravel, mud, or something worse. Kove still gives up ground in dealer network, ownership history, and long-term proof. That's real. But if your riding actually includes bad surfaces and not just the idea of adventure, this bike starts looking less like a gamble and more like a better fit. Number 1 is the CFMOTO 800X. This takes the top spot because it gets the touring brief right where riders actually feel it, not where brochures talk the loudest. It looks ready for a real trip the day you buy it, and that matters more than badge history. The first thing is range. With a tank around 22.5 liters, the bike starts making sense for long days right away, because fewer fuel stops change the whole rhythm of a trip, and touring riders know that once you start losing momentum, the day gets shorter fast. Then there's the layout. The bars, pegs, and seat setup look built for switching between seated motorway work and standing through broken sections, while the wind protection looks like it was actually tested by people who know what helmet buffeting feels like after hours in the saddle. Then you get to price and equipment, and this is where pressure on BMW and KTM gets real. A lot of European bikes start strong, then ask for more money to become proper tourers. BMW still wins on global support. KTM still pulls hard for riders who want a sharper feel. Resale on the Chinese bike probably won't match either. But if you care about range, value, warranty, and how much bike you actually get before the extras begin, the 800MTX earns first place. In conclusion, the gap now looks smaller in real touring use than in trust, resale, and dealer depth. So let me know in the comments which one you'd actually ride across a country, then watch the next video on Chinese ADV bikes pushing the old names harder than most riders expected.